So this is the time of year that I really love. So things are starting to bloom. It's getting warmer, which is great for me because I really love warm weather. But I'd love to be able to get outside and plant a garden. So I want you to think about your mind is like a garden, right? We have negative thoughts that are like the weeds in the garden. Now just think, when you are trying to plant a garden, how easy is it for all of those weeds to just come in uninvited and they just keep popping up and they grow so quickly, right? And then the plants that we desire to grow, whether it's fruit or vegetables or flowers, whatever it is that you're trying to actually grow, you have to really put effort into. You got to nurture those plants. You got to make sure they're getting enough water, make sure they're getting the right soil, the nutrients that they need. That hopefully it's not too hot and they're not getting too much sun. Hopefully they're getting enough sun. We've got to really work to make sure that these plants are growing well. I love to plant things outside. I have houseplants. I've never been that fantastic at keeping houseplants going, but I'm working on it. They seem to need a lot more care and attention. But these weeds, right? These weeds are like the negative thoughts that come into our mind. They come in so easy. Our brains are not wired for positivity. They're wired for protection. They're wired in the way that you just have this negative tendency. So when these thoughts pop in, these negative thoughts, they can spread and grow so quickly. So we have to really work. When we have a positive thought, we have to nurture those positive thoughts. We have to nurture this positive perspective. We've got to really spend time and effort and energy pouring into the positive ones in order for them to grow. And we've got to be constantly picking at those weeds. I mean, you notice if you go out into the garden, you haven't been there for a couple of days, there's going to be lots of weeds that are popping up. They just come out of nowhere, right? We had mushrooms in our front yard the last few years, and I have no idea where they came from. You know, one day there's no mushrooms, the next day the yard is covered in mushrooms. And when we go out, we pick them and they're gone. One more day, covered in mushrooms. So our thoughts are just like this. We have this tendency towards the negative. It's just like we've talked about before, that if somebody says one negative thing to you, it takes, I've heard, between 10 and 20. So there's the difference of opinion there, but at least 10 positive things to override that one negative. But the thing is, the negatives spread so much faster. So one negative thought can easily lead to 10 negative thoughts within our own mind. And now we've got to have like 100 positive things coming our way that we're putting into our mind or somebody else is putting into our mind to override these negative ideas. So we've got to constantly be monitoring this to our best of our ability. So if we start to build the habit of looking at things and thinking of things in a positive way, noticing the negative thoughts, because they're going to come. The negative things people are going to say, or the negative things we're going to say to ourselves. But not getting emotionally involved in those, allowing those to just go. Say, okay, I recognize that just came up, and now I'm going to let it go. I'm not going to get attached to this idea. And now what is something opposite of that I could say to myself? So if this idea comes up to you that, for example, I am not confident. I am not confident enough to do this. I'm not confident enough to put myself out there. I'm not confident enough to do a video. I'm not confident enough to, have clients and actually direct them. Whatever it is that you are feeling in your world that you are not confident in. So if you recognize this when it comes in, and now think to yourself, where are places where you have shown up in your life completely confident? So for me, when I was starting this business, when I was getting into coaching and mindset work, and it was new, right? So I wasn't feeling super confident in myself. I was like, oh gosh, that imposter syndrome comes in, that like, who do I think I am? How can I do this? My background is physical therapy. That's what I went to school for. And I, look back, I was never not confident as a physical therapist. Every single day, I was fully confident. I knew what I was doing. I put the work in. I had studied. I, graduated summa cum laude. Like, I knew that I was going to help this person, assuming they would allow me help. And I never lacked confidence in that area. I never went to a job interview ever having any doubt that I was going to be offered the position. It was more whether or not I wanted to take the position, right? So transfer that confidence. I'm not lacking in confidence. It's just that I need to transfer it now to this new aspect of what I am doing, who I'm becoming, right? So do this with all of these thoughts that come up. This is just an example. But if you are treating your mind like a beautiful garden, what do you want your garden to look like? Do you want it to be full of weeds that are just growing out of control? They're taking over everything. Or do you want your garden to be full of the beauty, the nutrients that it needs, right? So every time that those negative thoughts begin to come in, try to catch them, try to change your perception. Think about something positive that you can start to replace that with. Focus on that. And you might have to focus on it a little bit harder. Like I said, those negatives are so easy to spread. They're so easy to grow. The positives, you're going to have to put a little more effort into. But once you start to do this more and more and more, you can begin to see this positive perspective so much more easily. You won't have to work so hard. You won't have to focus really hard on the positives. It'll become natural to focus on the positive and let the negative slide away. Now, you might not do this immediately, but the more you work on it, the more practice you do, the more and more natural it will become. And the beautiful thing is, as you start to focus more and more on the positive within your own mind, within the beautiful garden of your mind, you will see your outside world start to reflect that beautiful garden. So really start to think about, what are you nurturing in your mind today? Where can you focus on a more positive side and grow what you really desire within your own mind so that you can change your outside world as well?